In the last few hours, American forces have significantly expanded their operations against Iran. What until recently had been focused mainly on targets in the south of the country, especially near the Strait of Hormuz, has now expanded into new areas, reaching the center and parts of western Iran. Essential military infrastructures are being hit more broadly, and reports indicate that some support facilities have also been affected. This move comes amid a rapid and dangerous escalation. Last weekend, 3 American soldiers were killed in Iranian attacks, 2 at a base in Jordan and in northern Iraq during the controlled detonation of an Iranian drone that had been shot down. The number of wounded since the start of the most intense phase of the conflict on July 7 is already approaching 100. President Donald Trump reacted firmly and without hesitation. Trump publicly declared that every time Iran kills an American soldier, the entire Iranian regime will pay for that death many times over. The directive was conveyed directly to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Caney. Trump's message is clear. There will be no tolerance for new attacks against American troops in the region. The president also emphasized that retaliatory operations will continue until he considers the debt has been paid. This stance comes at a very critical moment. The conflict, which began on February 28, saw a brief period of truce that was broken on July 7. Since then, the United States has carried out successive waves of air and missile strikes against Iranian military capabilities. The initial targets were mainly systems used by Iran to threaten navigation through the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important maritime routes for oil. In the last 24 hours, however, the operations have expanded. New rounds of attacks were carried out by forces from the U.S. Central Command. CENTCOM reported that the attacks degrade the country's military capabilities used in attacks against commercial vessels. Explosions were reported in Hormuzgan province in southern Iran, but the pattern indicates that the scope of the operations is expanding. Trump had already indicated last week that the targets could include power plants, bridges, and Karg Island, Iran's main oil export terminal, Iran's oil export terminal, and even deep underground nuclear facilities. The Iranian response was swift. The regime launched missiles and drones against American positions in the region, once again hitting bases in Jordan, Kuwait, and Iraq. Sirens even sounded in Amman, Manama, and other Gulf capitals. 2 tankers were hit in waters near Oman and off the Emirates, where they are currently adrift and on fire. The crew was abandoned. Iran, through the Revolutionary Guard, claimed responsibility for these attacks against non-compliant vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, meaning vessels that do not follow Iran's rules. It is in this context of mutual retaliation that a question is increasingly being raised among analysts, military personnel, and intelligence sources. The possibility of Russian support for improvements in Iran's missile and drone capabilities. If you want to watch this full video and have access to exclusive content only for members, become a channel member by simply clicking this join button. Recent reports from American officials indicate growing concern that Russia is providing information and the location of American military assets in the Persian Gulf region. There are indications that Moscow is sharing advanced drone tactics with Iran, helping to refine the accuracy and effectiveness of attacks against American targets. These improvements are not just narratives. In recent months, Iranian attacks against American bases have shown greater penetration and coordination capabilities. The use of advanced reconnaissance satellite acquired from China by Iran had already been identified as a tool for directing attacks at the beginning of the conflict. Now the Russian dimension, adds an extra layer of sophistication. American sources reported that Russia provides data on the positions of American warships and aircraft, allowing Iran to plan more targeted attacks. This represents a significant development. Iranian ballistic missiles and drones, which previously had limitations and accuracy issues with moving or distant targets, seem to have become more effective with external support in intelligence and tactics. The recent strikes in Jordan and Iraq, which resulted in American casualties, reinforce this concern. It's not just about the volume of fire, but about a greater ability to reach and damage specific assets. The Russian presence in this context is not new in the conflict, but its role in technical and intelligence improvements seems to be intensifying. Russia has maintained close ties with Iran for years, especially in the areas of drones and missile systems. The sharing of information about American targets and employment tactics represents a qualitative leap for Iranian capabilities. This turns the conflict into something more complex, with elements of a proxy war where external powers provide not only weaponry but also operational knowledge. Russia cannot support Iran with sophisticated weapons, so it offers the best it has: data and intelligence. Meanwhile, the economic and logistical impact is already being felt globally. Traffic in the Strait of Hormuz has dropped drastically. In the last 24 hours, only 9 vessels have used the route, compared to a daily average of about 130 before the conflict. The United States claims to have facilitated the safe passage of approximately 900 commercial ships and between 400 and 450 million barrels of oil since May. Still, the threat of Iranian attacks persists, keeping tensions very high. Do as our members do to watch this full video and receive exclusive content that is not made available to the public. Just click here on this Become a Member button. Now I want to know your opinion. Will there be any new substantive negotiations? Since Iran is being degraded and the war is without, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos.